Hello, I'm Håkan Mitz, and this is Sail in Finland Camera Corner, coming to you today from a hot and sunny island out in the Finnish archipelago. The topic of the day is going to be putting together a small video rig for my Olympus E-M1 Mark II camera. I really like the Mark II because it's small, it has great stabilization, works well with handheld shooting, and also it has really good autofocus. One thing though that it's not so good at is that the LCD display is not quite bright enough to really give you a good working experience when working out, for instance in very bright sunlight on a boat or similar situation. So that's why one of the starting points for the rig is to actually be able to use it with an on-camera monitor such as the Fotka here. The problem with attaching a monitor just to the camera is that because the camera is very light, the monitor, especially with a big heavy battery, actually more or less destroys the nice balance of the camera itself. So therefore, one of the basic requirements for the rig is that it will balance nicely with the monitor. I also want it to actually be quite narrow because I've shot a lot of videos in boats and places like that where there's not too much space, so I don't want something that is very wide or sprawling and that easily can then snag on something in the environment. Also, I do a lot of sort of combined video photography shooting, so I also want to be able to actually hang the rig around my neck so I can use my stills camera. Or also, on the boat, it's quite useful to be able to not have to carry the rig all the time, because on the boat, if you move around, often you actually need both hands. The rig is built around various Smallrig components. The base component is the Smallrig, should I call it half cage, for the E-M1 Mark II. Unfortunately, this one is no longer available. I actually got it pre-owned just after I had bought the camera. So let's put on the cage as a starting point. On the cage, I have on the top, I have a NATO rail. So this is where I'm going to attach first the handle and then the monitor. I also have a HDMI sort of adapter. So this is to minimize the length of the cable going into the camera port. So if something snags on the HDMI cable, there's less chance that it's actually going to wreck the camera port, which of course doesn't at least look too sturdy. And then on top here is my other Smallrig project. So it's a small strap lug, which actually then allows me to connect the neck strap not to the camera itself. You can see here that the on-camera strap lug is in a badly placed now. If I would have a strap there, it would interfere quite badly with the HDMI cable, but now I can actually hang the camera from this strap lug here. So this was the starting point. So in order to solve the problem with top-heavy monitor, I thought that one way to do that would be to actually then place the battery below the camera. So for that purpose, I actually then worked with Smallrig or with the Dreamrig program to design a small under-camera cage. The main purpose of which is to hold the battery, an NPF type battery that I can use then to power the monitor. But then also actually it's, when I did the design and thought about it, then actually this becomes also a very nice component to actually install additional components on. So I have actually on the cage, I have two cold shoes here and one cable clamp. This is a very nice, actually small component from Smallrig that I really like. And then on the other side I've actually taken a handle and put it here sort of sideways. The reason for this is that, you know, if I put it sideways, it actually doesn't destroy the sort of the capability of me actually being able to, you know, put the whole camera and the cage down. So let's see, you know, then let's connect first the cage, the battery cage, to the bottom of the camera cage. With, you know, the battery cage has, you know, grooves in this direction, so I can actually choose where to put the cage. The main purpose here is that it actually then helps me balance the cage quite nicely, or the whole rig quite nicely. Also, I can adjust the cage so that it doesn't get away in my way for shooting with the EVF, which is something that I actually sort of like to retain as a possibility, mainly for kind of shooting the odd still there, with, you know, without having to take the camera off the cage. So you can see now that it comes out a little bit, but, you know, if you look at it, I can still, you know, easily use the EVF. It doesn't get in my way too much, you know, so the EVF is still quite usable even with the cage mounted. So next, let's then take the battery adapter. So this is the Smallrig, one of the Smallrig battery adapters, so it perfectly fits into the cage here. So let's screw it in place. And now the cage is kind of starting to take shape. So you can see, you know, I have quite a nice sturdy grip here with the side handle and being able to hold the camera on its grip. So then let's next take this handle. I really like this model of the Smallrig handle, because it actually very convenient, you know, to carry a light camera setup, and also now with the NATO rail you can see that I can place it somewhere where, you know, I then get quite easily the whole setup balanced in the vertical direction. This is, I think, a 70mm rail, so that gives me enough sideways movement to actually be able to always center it on the center of gravity. Okay, so next, take the vodka and put it here on top. Now we have all the major components in place, and you can see that, you know, it's still, you know, it's very nice, you know, I can, you know, all the components are nicely accessible, and the rig balances nicely in the vertical direction. Okay, so let's finish the design. So first of all, I'll connect the HDMI cable here to the camera's HDMI port. There. And then one of the reasons that I chose the vodka is actually because it has the HDMI connector here at the back of the camera, which gives me again, you know, a really narrow design, so there's no risk that that or there's minimal risk that the cable is going to snag on something on the side. So actually then I connect it then to the adapter, and then I'm using one of these nice cable clamps that I've mounted actually on the side here of the Fotka to actually then make sure that the HDMI cable doesn't flap around too much. On the other side then here I take the cable and connect it to the battery adapter, and the other end of course then to the Fotka. Again, it's nice that also the power is on the back side. And now I use this cable clamp here to kind of coil the cable. It's a little bit too long, but if I put a couple of coils on the clamp, it actually it's quite nice and compact. So this is the next step. Then this cold shoe here, using that for the microphone. So this is a Synco microphone, and here it goes. I'll just take the microphone cable, connect the microphone to the camera. I need to buy a few more of those cable adapters, because here clearly I could use one to actually then make sure that the microphone cable also is held nicely in place. I can also then, on the front side here, the idea is to actually be able to put a Rede wireless receiver. Now it's in front of the whole setup, so it means that there's an unobstructed radio connection then to the sender, then that would be, or the transmitter, that would be somewhere here. The Rede cable would go into the port as well, quite nicely. Now with the two microphones then I can explain a little bit the idea of this cold shoe here on the handle. So this is actually intended for a Comica mixer, so that would allow me then to connect both the Rede as well as the directional microphone to the mixer, and then connect that into the camera port. So I could actually then control quite easily here the microphone levels. This would not really work for handheld shooting, I don't think, but I can mount this on a tripod, so with a tripod mounted setup, it would actually be quite feasible to connect the thing, to use this cold shoe to actually place then the mixer here. Okay, so let's complete the design then. So then take the battery. This is a, I think, 4,400 milliampere hours NPF battery, and you can now see that the battery adapter shows me the charging level, and also that the battery is in place. And now I can then take the Fotka and power it on if I want to. Okay, final thing, just let's add a lens here. So in this case it's a Samyang 8mm fisheye. And now the rig is more or less ready. As you can see, with the whole setup now, it actually balances quite nicely. It's almost perfectly vertical, and with my two-hand grip here, it's actually very, very easy to operate the rig. So let's do one final thing. So let's take my trusty old Olympus camera strap, connect it to one of the lugs here on the top, and then the other one then to the standard camera lug. And now I actually have a system that you can see, it's actually quite feasible to, okay, let's balance it a little bit better. It's actually quite feasible to carry it also from a strap. I can rest the whole rig on my belly, and I can carry it without needing any of my two hands for that. So I can then do, for instance, still shooting or hang on to the boat. So this is the system. I hope you found this video interesting. And if you did, then please follow the Sail in Finland channel. Camera Corner is part of that. And when I've actually had time to do some shooting with this setup, then I'll post some links to actually how this, what kind of results you can get then with this rig. Also, if you're interested in any of the components, I'll list all the components below the video in the description, so you can actually see from there then what were the components that I actually used to build this rig. So thank you for listening, and welcome back to the Sail in Finland Camera Corner, or to the regular Sail in Finland sailing channel, for the next video.